Thank you so much for joining me for Pilates All Levels. My name is Audra, and today we're going to use a ball for a prop. But if you don't have one at home, that's okay. You can use a pillow, fold it up a couple times, or you can opt out entirely if you want to. As always, listen to your body. Make sure everything is working for you and feeling right for you. If you have any questions, feel free to shout them out. I'm happy to give you accommodations. We're actually going to start on our side. And if you have a pillow or a ball, you're welcome to use it as a pillow. You can also get rid of it and just kind of prop your head on your hand. We're going to start with a little rotation. So go ahead and first bring your hand to the bottom of your ribs and sink your ribs away from your hand and towards your belly button just a little bit. Not so much that we're really craning forward, but just enough that we've kind of integrated the ribs into our core. Now bring your arm to the sky and reach your hand back, trying to rotate from the ribs as opposed to just dropping into the shoulder. Pause when you get to your first kind of like point of resistance, and you're actually going to try to fill your ribs with breath here. Inhale. Exhale, see if you can get a little bit more rotation. Now the hip can slide back with you if it needs to. And bring your hand back. We're going to do a couple more like this. So it can be tempting when we get restriction to try to arch to get around that restriction. But that can happen from either our erectors, right? Those kind of like ropey sausage muscles in our back trying to grip, or potentially like our posterior pelvic floor trying to grip. So we're looking for kind of just a passive range of motion. Don't worry, we'll get an active range of motion a little later. And just see if you can sneak into just a millimeter more each time. Last one, we get to hold, trying to fill your entire rib cage, let it be expansive. You can look toward your hand if you like, and then use your ribs to drag your hips and knees back. We're going to go to the other side. So I'm going to flip around so I can see all of you, but you guys don't necessarily need to. And first, just let that arm come up, shoulder blade gently hugs down the back, and just rotate until your first point of resistance. And then breathe. So one thing that the breath can do is it can kind of talk to your nervous system, right? Bring your arm back, and then we go back. So if you've ever been really stressed out and hyperventilating, you might realize that you're really getting that intake of breath and you're not fully allowing your oxygen levels, right? Your oxygen to get out of your body. And that excites your nervous system. Whereas if you have like a longer exhale, it relaxes your nervous system. And we're trying to focus on the longer exhale here because our nervous system won't really be bullied, right? If you're like, come on, go, your body's not going to respond as well. Whereas if you're like, hey, let's relax a little and see if you can get a little bit more range, it's more likely to be accommodating. Last one like this. Hold for a moment, breathing three-dimensionally, so into your back, into the sides of your ribs. And then exhale, use your ribs to bring your hips and knees back. Now go ahead and allow your hands to be either in a T or goalpost position. T position puts more stretch on your pec major, goalpost on your pec minor. So see which one is maybe a little bit stretchier for you and go for that one. Sink your ribs down to the ground a little bit and let one hip lift as your knees go to the other side. Now we're getting that rotation from the bottom up as opposed to top down. Inhale here. Exhale, drag your ribs back to center, and you can go to the other side. So one reason we're trying not to arch here is that then creates an environment where our QL or our erectors are in charge of the move. And we're trying to find obliques, as well as diaphragmatic breathing and transverse abdominis engagement. So if you notice that your back likes to help, lengthen that hip away from your face more. One more each direction. Starting to warm that spine up a bit. One more. Go ahead, bring your hands to your hip bones, and you can separate your feet to about sits bone distance. And we're just gonna find a little bit of movement of our pelvis here. So try to find neutral where your hip bones and pubic bone are about on the same plane. Maybe you have a small space underneath your back, maybe you don't. Just making sure the ribs aren't popping to try to create space. And we're just gonna let our tailbone be a little baby bit heavier. And now pull your hip bones towards your face, lengthen your spine to the ground, coming into an imprint, gently, and then back. Back and forth, finding at least neutral to imprint. And just notice what your nose and chin want to do here, right? So a lot of times, if we're in one position, our entire spine responds. And if we're in another, our entire spine responds, right? So for example, when my tailbone is down, my chin is slightly nodded. And when my tailbone is up, my chin lengthens away. I have two more. Trying to create a little bit of length through your neck, even as your spine responds. Now come back to your neutral, making sure your toes are pointing forward. We're about to bridge. So you can have your palms down, but if you internally rotate a whole lot here, either bring your hands onto blocks to get your triceps on, or you can bring your palms to the sky or palms to face each other. We're gonna imprint our spine, hold. Press your big toe mound into the ground, trying to get that soleus and hamstring to help you here as you peel your spine up into your first bridge. Now, check it out, right? If your ribs are popping or your weight is on your head or neck, think about opening your throat a little bit more and letting your weight be more on your shoulders. Inhale, exhale, melt through your throat, your sternum, your ribs, your low back, until you come back to your neutral. Let's do a couple more. As we imprint, it's less about getting your spine like into a deep, deep C shape and more about allowing it to lengthen to the ground. And then you can allow that peel to happen. So yes, it's kind of like you're peeling a sticker off the wall with abdominal control, but we also are getting the back line of our body to kick on here. On your exhale, try to allow things to melt. It's almost like you can feel the tissue of your back expanding into the ground. Couple more here. And if you feel one side trying to grip, come down a little. At the top of the move, yes, the glutes have to be active, but if you feel a lot of lower back tension, see if you're squeezing your glutes really, really hard, or see if your weight is on your neck. And then melt all the way down. Last one like this. Now, at the top, we're gonna change it up just a little bit. So go ahead and lift your heels, press your big toe mound down, see if you can get just the tiniest bit more height. And then without allowing your back to arch, press your heels down so your hamstrings kick on more. And then again, lift, ooh, and then press down. Everybody feel that hamstring connection a little bit more? Yeah. 2 more. Still trying to keep your sternum away from your throat. And then melt all the way down. Go ahead and grab your prop, and we're gonna slide it underneath our hips. So we're gonna bring it underneath our sacrum here, and just try to find a little bit of connection to that deep abdominal. So find a relatively neutral-ish position, right? It won't be perfectly neutral because your hips are elevated, but if you're in a deep tuck, we wanna lift the hip bones away from the floor just a little bit. Now on your exhale, think about your hip bones, ribs, all hugging towards your belly button, and then relax. Let's do a couple more like that. Everything's just trying to connect together, and then relax. On your next one, think about your ribs and hip bones pulling in towards your belly button, and then press your sacrum down into the ball as if you were trying to pop the ball. Everybody feel that deep abdominal connection even more? Yeah? Great. Let's do a couple more like that. If you find that you're like, well, I feel my glutes, try to relax them because it's about sinking everything down rather than squeezing to lift off. Last one, hold. Keep that connection as long as you can. Press one foot into the floor, allow the other leg to float to tabletop. Let that knee start to lengthen away from your face, press that foot into the floor, the other leg floats up. So we're keeping the 3-point connection, right? To start as we march. Now, one reason I want you to march as opposed to switching through the air is it's going to give you more feedback to start about what your body's doing. You can find that hamstring connection a little bit more. And then you can start to switch your legs midair, but still push into the floor. Use the floor as an extra prop. Using your breath as well, right? So it's slow and steady wins the race. Inhale, exhale, switch. Inhale, exhale, switch. Now, as you do this, see if you can start lowering your top leg before you lift your bottom leg. That will take your knees a little bit away from your face, which will challenge your low abs more. If you notice your knee trying to extend and bend, imagine you have a tennis ball in your knee pit, and you're going to try to move at the thigh rather than the knee. Good. 2 more. Last one. Bring both legs up into tabletop. Try to reconnect through that deep abdominal engagement. And then imagine pushing your feet just into a little wall so you've got your hamstrings as well. Now push one foot away from you. Maybe it lowers, maybe it doesn't. And then bending the knee, pressing the heel on the ground, drag it in. Other side. So as we reach away, we're trying to lengthen through the front of the thigh, and then we're trying to get that hamstring as well. Back and forth. And of course, if you're like, this is too easy, Audra, no problem. You can bring your arms up, arm bones relaxing down. So they're not going to help stabilize you as much. Couple more, trying to see where your pelvis wants to respond, right? So it's not bad to move your pelvis. It's not bad to move your spine. However, a lot of times our movement strategy is, oh, I don't have hip extension, so I'm going to go into back extension. So what we're trying to find is pure hip extension here. Yeah. Now, You can press both feet away from you. Think about your thigh bones connecting to your ribs, and then allow them to fold in. Now, after a couple of these, let's start fine-tuning it a little bit. Now, as you press away, maybe bring your heels down an inch and don't fully straighten your legs. See if that creates a little bit more work for your core, right? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Sometimes, if we don't have the confidence to go into a fully extended position here, we try to cut the range by just extending the legs up, which isn't bad. It just then gets the stability more from the quads and possibly the hip flexors rather than the soda can of our torso. 2 more. Last one, reaching those legs away. You can hug them in towards your chest and then bring one leg at a time down. We're gonna move the ball out from beneath us. Go ahead and pop it in between your inner thighs. Now you can take your hands, place them on your thighs for a second, give yourself a tiny bit of traction through your spine if you like. Now first, trying to engage through the whole inner thigh rather than just at the groin. Gently squeeze the ball. So now hold the engagement with one inner thigh, let the other thigh relax a little, and then bring it back. Then hold, other side. So we're just getting a little bit of semi-unilateral movement here, right? We're stabilizing on one side. Last one. Hold them both. Interlace your hands behind your head. Spiral your elbows forward. Shoulder blades draw down. Inhale. Exhale, curl your collarbones forward. Looking in between your knees or at the ball. Reach your hands forward. Push them into an imaginary surface. And then you can bring your hands back and hold. Feel where your low back is. Feel where your ribs are. Hopefully, maybe the bottom tips of your shoulder blades are grazing the ground. Slowly lower. Let's do a couple more like that, shall we? Curl. Bring it forward. You're welcome to squeeze the ball. Hands behind your head, hold. And breathe. And then slowly lower. Couple more. Now, if your feet are really wide and you're squeezing the ball, it's going to create internal rotation at the thigh bone, which isn't necessarily bad, but if you feel the front corner of your hip trying to help with that, instead bring your feet a little closer together and see if you can find more inner thigh. Last one, hold. Now just lift your heels, keeping your knees right where they are. Flex one foot. Yep, tap it down. Other side, keep squeezing the ball. Now, it's a little bit trickier to keep your knees right where they are because of the prop, but it gives you more information, right? So if you feel, oh, it's rolling a little. Good. Elizabeth. It looks great. The right side is super, super stable. The left knee is trying to bend in just a little bit. So on the left side, think more about that ankle. Yeah, there you go. Good. And if you feel your body trying to strategize, just breathe through it. Now, if you'd like more challenge, flex both feet, hold. Trying not to let your spine move, right? Tap them down. Exhale, squeeze, flex, hold, and down. Everybody get that little tremble as soon as you squeeze and flex? Yeah. If you need your head down, it's great, no problem. Good. 2 more. Apparently, they don't like that song. All right. And we're going to flex and hold. Now, exhale, float your knees up. Curl a little bit higher. Now, if you need a little assistance, hands behind your thighs, press your thighs into your hands. You can curl up a little baby bit more. Hands back behind your head. Now, feel where your shoulders are. We're gonna keep one shoulder blade on the ground barely, lift the other one up, sternum points to the outside of the leg. Come back to center, other side. Now, if you need your feet down for this, can you have your feet down? Of course. That's gonna give you a little bit more stability. But if you want your legs up, that's great. It's just a bit of a challenge. Everybody doing all right? Yeah. 2 more. Last one. Head comes down. Arms come out to the side. If you want to keep your feet down and just sway your knees from side to side, you can. Otherwise, legs at tabletop, squeeze your heels together. Keep the ribs drawing in. Lift one hip, other hip lowers just a little, hold. Now extend your legs away from you, challenging that stability, drag them back. Bend. Hug everything together, we hold. And then extend. If you want. If you don't want to extend, that's okay too. But basically we're finding our end range of stability, and then we're challenging it by lengthening our lever, right? You can keep your lever long, but sometimes it's a little bit harder to find that end range because our body tries to cut it. So listen to your body and what feels best for you today. And last one. All right, now bring your legs back. We're gonna bring our hands back behind our head. Lift a little. Now just let one hip lift, one hip lower, hold. Stabilize against what your body's going to want to do, which is that, right? And back, other side. If you can, maintain your chest lift here. Good. You won't be able to go as far, but that's okay. Good. Couple more. How's everyone feeling? Great? I'll take your silence and say, yeah, it's amazing. Last one, each side. Good. Now bring your feet down, take the prop. Now, if you're using a pillow, you're not going to be able to do this the same way, so I just slide leg on the floor. If you have the ball, place the ball underneath your foot. Coming back into your chest lift if you're ready. Press down into the prop, push it away from you. Now, try to push it so far away that it helps leverage your chest forward a little, and then bring it back in. Couple more. Think about away. Good. Yeah. Now, if this is where you are today, amazing. If this is where you are with your head down, amazing. If you want more of a challenge, hey, guess what? That's also an option. You bring that other leg up. Now with that leg up, you can tap it down as the knee comes in and bring it up as it comes up. Good. I know it's also a little bit of a brain teaser, right? Yeah, as most of the things we do are, yeah. Now, if you like, you can rotate towards that free floating leg and then back. Now, if you'd like, you can rotate even farther and back. Just feel the difference with the leg that's supported and it's not able to come in as far versus rotating towards that other side. Good. So the crisscross variation, we have just a few more of them. 2. Nice job, everybody. Also, the people behind me, I am watching you. You just can't see it. Good. Last 1. Hug everything in. And just give yourself a little rock from side to side. Guess what? We get to do the other side. So yeah, it's always exciting. So you can always keep your head down if you want. Just as you push the foot away, don't stop when the knee is straight, right? Try to reach it even farther away, but stabilizing from those ribs. So if you think of like a shower curtain rod, right? You can't just stop when they barely touch the wall. You have to kind of try to extend them through the wall to get them to stabilize. And of course, if you like, head is up. And if you like, leg is up. And if you like, we get to tap and reach. Any of these variations are fine. All right, so don't feel like you have to do the most advanced one. Good, nice job, everybody. Now, if you're ready, we rotate. Rotate towards the free floating leg and back. And then if you want, you can rotate past that. Think about the rib cage rotating rather than just rotating from the shoulders, right? Now, rib cage rotation is really important. And I'll tell you why as soon as we're done with this, because we have just a couple more. 2. Last one. Hug everything in. Nice job. So rib cage rotation is really important because our ribs are designed to rotate up to 40 degrees. Our lumbar spine is only designed to rotate up to 15 degrees. Now go ahead, bring your arms overhead for a second. Shoulder blades kind of just melt. Come into your chest lift, and then you can use your hands on your thighs to help you up. And you can pop this back between your knees if you like. We're gonna bring our hands to the back of our thighs, shoulder blades draw down, push your feet into the floor, curl your tailbone towards your face, hold for a second, and then roll forward, and then restack. So if our rib cage isn't rotating, guess what's going to have to pick up the slack? You guessed it, lumbar spine. A couple more. So anytime we walk or run, allowing the ribs to be able to rotate is going to help power you. So your glutes and calves don't have to do as much, but they also make sure that your lumbar spine isn't having to do too much. Good. Now, maybe this is where you stay today, right? Great. Maybe you let your arms come forward and you curl back a couple inches and hold, and then curl back another couple inches and then roll forward. Yeah. Using your breath, right? So if you're like, oh man, it's hard, I want to hold my breath, try it with your breath held. And then try it with a really deep exhale, right? So, yeah. Now, if you need to, you can always use the back of your thighs. Good. Nice job. Last one. Lovely. Now let's add some rotation. Sound good? You guys are like, no, but it's going to be great. So we're just going to bend one elbow. Maybe it touches the ground, maybe it doesn't, and bring it back. Other side. Once again, we're trying not to arch to get there, right? Trying to stabilize from the front. And that rotation comes from those obliques, right? Good. Now, if you need to, grab on to your opposite leg to give you a little assist. So if your hip flexors are trying to do too much, use your arm here. Also make sure you're squeezing with that inner thigh. Inner thigh squeeze, yeah. You what, sorry? I'm gonna mirror you. Yeah, so yeah, so just behind the corresponding knee, yeah, good. Yeah, good. Last set. How's everybody doing? So good? Great. Because we're now going to set the prop to the side, extend the legs out. Go ahead and just relax over your legs, see how they feel, right? And then think about if you're really like rounding your spine, it's not a big deal, you're just getting more stretch through here. Now stick your tail feathers back and see if you get a little bit more stretch through your hamstrings. Now keeping your tail feathers sticking back, flex your feet. Where do you feel the stretch, right? Is it calves? Is it hamstrings? Go ahead, bring your arms forward, shoulder blades draw down your back, press your feet into the ground, okay? Not necessarily so much that your knees have to bend, but just enough to connect through your hamstrings. Lift your ribs, we're doing some roll-ups. So if you have a prop you like for roll-ups, grab it. You're gonna roll all the way down. And then imagine you have like a little 10-pound weight. You wanna stabilize that. Now on the way up, big inhale. Fill your lungs with oxygen and then exhale to help you up. Good. Now, if you need, bend your knees a tiny bit, right? So if you're like me and you've got tight hip flexors and with your legs extended, it's really challenging to go into your imprint, bend your knees a fraction of an inch and see if that allows for a little bit more spinal movement, right? If you need to, you can use a prop to get a little bit more of that connection through your lats and serratus, right? As well as those obliques. Good, couple more. And then we get to add on. Everybody excited? Yeah, so exciting. Now, you can stick with these. These are great, you can stick with them. Okay? If you'd like more challenge, everybody ready? You're gonna roll down, push one foot away from you, so maybe it starts to hover, and then keep pushing it away from you as you roll up. Maybe it comes up a little bit. Maybe it needs to bend, that's fine too. And then the other side. So it's like it's being pushed away, and then it gets pushed away so much that it floats up. Yeah. Couple more. Good. Yeah. Now, if this is too easy for you, and you're like, you know what, I love a good teaser, we can do that. But I want you to make sure that you're not just gripping through your hip flexors, okay? So if you're doing a full teaser, you're gonna squeeze your inner thighs together like a merperson fin. You're gonna reach them away. And then just pushing your feet away, take 1 pound of weight out of your feet, right? Rotating your pelvis around your thighs. Can you do that with bent knees? Heck yes, right? So whatever your body says it wants, it's what I would like you to try. Good. 2 more, that's it. You're all amazing. Last one. And go ahead, bring your feet down, knees apart, relax over your legs. Nice job. Nobody shrieked and fell backwards. You all looked really great. All right, we're gonna come on to all fours. So if for any reason you're like, man, I hate being on my wrists, you can always be on your forearms. You can also be on your fists. You can also use the pad underneath your wrists to help. I find that too squishy and I need a little bit more stability. So do whatever your body says is going to be best for you. Think about pushing the floor away a little bit. And then imagine that you've got a piece of paper in between your hands. You want to start to pull that piece of paper away, tearing it in the center, just a little to get your shoulders active, yeah? Now, belly button lifts, tailbone curls down just a millimeter. Slide one foot out, push it into the ground. And then fold it in slowly, other side. So you've got this 3-point of contact. We're going back and forth a few times. If for any reason this doesn't feel great in an open chain, you can always turn and use the wall to help close the chain, right? That's going to give you just a little bit more support and can potentially help you find your glutes a little bit more. Good. Lengthening through your ears. Good. Making sure you're not locking out through your elbows. Hey, Saul, there's some weights over there. Why don't you grab a set of weights so you can just use that? Yeah. 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 Yeah, I think that's going to feel better. Okay. We're going to slide this first leg out and hold. Now ignore it, it no longer exists for our immediate needs. We're gonna think about this bent leg, okay? Let yourself kind of sink into that side and then push the knee down and out to shift your weight back center, okay? I'll show it from a couple different angles. So we're gonna sink and then we're going to use intention to get us back in that frontal plane. So you sink into it, oh, hey, what's up? Oh no, I'm gonna use my glute medius and my obliques and my inner thigh to help get back into that stable position. Good. Last one like that. And hold. Now that back foot exists again. Push it away and just start to barely drag it up a wall, just a couple inches. And then it can tap down. Exhale, bring it back up the wall. Now, don't take it so far up the wall that your back responds, right? It's like you're just gently sliding it up a couple inches. You don't even really need to get it to 90 degrees. 2 more. Last one. Push the foot down into the ground. Lift your ribs, slide your other foot out to meet it. Delightful planking time. Just a couple breaths here. If you need to come on to your forearms, you can. Keep that gentle hug of your armpits and then bring the opposite knee down. That's it. Nice. And we're gonna slide that hip to the side, press it down and back to get there. Okay, so it's a little bit of frontal plane activation, right? So we sink to one side and then we use that glute to bring us back. So one of the cool things about the way our body works is we have these kind of muscular subsystems that work in tandem to help with things, right? And one is a subsystem that helps us stabilize on the frontal plane, okay? And it's glute medius, it is inner thigh, it's TFL, and it's QL, opposite side QL, okay? And so what we're doing is we're sinking into a position where nothing is really working, and then we're bringing it back to where that entire subsystem is working. Last one, hold. Now push that foot away, drag it a couple inches up the wall and tap it down. Couple more inches up the wall. Good. Filling your back line with breath. to help find that stability, right? You're all looking good, feeling gorgeous. Give me 4. Good. Belly button up just a little bit more. Yeah, good. Keep that connection there. Does that feel a little bit? Yeah. Yeah. 2 more. Yeah. Last one. Press down into that foot. Slide the other foot out to meet it. Now, you can either hold here or you can come into front support, which is you bend one knee, and then reach it back. Couple more. If you need to, Iris, tuck your tailbone a little. Thank you. You can always just go back to sliding one foot at a time. You can always be on your forearms here. We have just a few extras. 4, 3, 2. Last set. Knees down. Press yourself into your rest position, rolling out your wrist. All right, while we're here, let's actually take our hands, place them onto the backs of our ribs or low back. Now, if you need the ball here instead, that's fine. We're just gonna breathe into our back. So big inhale. Try to let the tissue of your back expand. And then exhale from the front. Couple more. One more like this. And then take your hands up and over to one side. Press your hips away from your hands. Feel that expansion through the side body. And then other side. Now we're going to come onto our knees. You guys are like, what are we doing? Oh, it's going to be so fun. All right, so first, check in, right? If you are on your knees and your hip bones are like pointing down, or your back butt is sticking out, or your low back is in a big arch, see if you can actually squeeze the bottom part of your glutes forward and keep your ribs in. We're just going to do a quick little hip flexor stretch for a second. So bring one foot forward, find the little tuck of your tailbone, but don't like squeeze, clench the glute. It's just a little hum. Imagine dragging this front heel back so you can get just a little bit of stretch from here, folding over your ribs. Good. Everybody feel a little baby stretch? Now, just for funsies, take your back foot, push it down into the ground to get the front of that leg to light up a little. For 5. I just saw it in all your eyes. 3, 2, big inhale. Big exhale, stop pressing. See if you can get just a little bit more. Now, just for funsies. I don't know why this is a good time, but it is. Take your back foot, slide it across your midline a little and see if that changes your stretch. Maybe you're like, oh, I've got less stretch now. And then bring it back just a little. Take your back foot, go the opposite direction a little. See if that changes your stretch. Yeah. So fun, right? Huh? Yeah. And then come on back. We're just going to tuck the tailbone again. If this is not comfortable on the knee, you can just do another hip flexor stretch. Otherwise, we're going to take your ankle and just make sure that we haven't gone into an arch, but a gentle squeeze. Our quad is now hopefully getting a nice, delightful stretch. Yeah. Now you can gently push that foot or ankle into your hand for 5, 4, 3, 2, big inhale. Keep the ribs in and just see if you can get a little bit more of that quad stretch. So bring your foot with you. Yeah, and then other side. I know it's so exciting, you guys. So find that tuck, find that kind of whole body positioning, right? So the bottom of our rib cage is where the top fibers of our psoas attach. So if it's tight, it's going to be pulling, right? Which is why I want that nice connection here. It takes our origin and insertion points away from each other. And just gently push your back foot into the ground. Man, one side might be more exciting than the other. This is my exciting side. Big inhale, big exhale. Relax and just see if you can get a little bit more stretch. Hold for a couple breaths, and then we're going to see how our body feels about that rotation. So go ahead, bring your attention to that back foot, sweep it across your midline. See how that feels. Maybe, for me, for example, my body doesn't want to let me stretch in that range because that muscle's real tight. So it's information, right? And then bring it back and sweep it the other way and see. Yeah. Couple more breaths. Can you feel the different areas that that's stretching, right? So because of the muscle action, one of them is going to stretch your TFL more, one is going to stretch psoas more. And then bring it back. You can either do another hip flexor stretch if it's not comfortable on the knee, or we can go into the quad stretch. So Elizabeth, if you want to do the quad stretch, but this is not going to work, you can always prop your ankle up on a block for future. Yeah. Good. Now, gently push your foot or ankle into your hand. This is my exciting wiggly side. Big inhale. Big exhale. See if you can get just a tiny bit more stretch. I think you found your homework, Iris. Yeah, so did I. And come out of that. Now see if that allows you to just be a little bit more upright and neutral as opposed to trying to have to fight it, yeah? Great. Extend one leg out. Push that inner thigh into the ground. Yeah, now, if you're upright like this, it's not bad, but this is not going to be our end position, okay? So think about those ribs closing. Imagine your ears are going to lengthen away from that foot. Yeah, so this is our starting and ending position. Iris, other side, there you go. Yeah, now, as you breathe, fully inflate. Good, now, if this is where you are, and this is enough work, it's kind of like a side plank, except without the arm. Great. If you'd like more challenge, hands come behind your head. Now, once again, this is your ending and starting point. Dip down, press into the floor, find your ending and starting point, lengthening your ears away from your foot. Yeah, that's your end. If you're like, this is pretty easy, why is this easy? You might be coming up too high. If it's too challenging, bring your fingertips to the ground. Right? Once again, you're not coming upright. So if your face is upright, you need to be at an angle. Two more. Good. You don't need to come up that high if you don't want to. Yeah. So ears there. Yeah. So good, right? Last one. Now, bring yourself upright. We're going to balance. So push that knee into the ground, bend this other side. You can use your arms, it's okay. Yeah. For 3, 2, and other side. Nice work, everybody. Where do you think I got the idea? We're going to press the foot into the ground. We're going to lengthen from the crown of our head, right? So if you're up here and you can see upright, try to go a little bit that way. Good. Breathing into our side. And maybe this is where you reside today. Maybe you want more challenge, in which case hands behind your head. And maybe you want more challenge, which is imagine going up and over and then push into the ground, stack on the angle. Notice how this glute is having to help and this inner thigh is having to help. Yeah. If you're like, having my fingertip down helps, but it might help a little too much. Instead, reach your opposite finger towards your foot and use that to help you as well, right? Yeah, yeah. 3 more. That one looked great though. 2. Last one. Bring your weight upright. Slide that foot in. Get ready. Inhale. Exhale. Just see how your balance is on this side. Maybe it's amazing on this side. Good. And then bring it down. Nice job, you guys. Bring your hands to the ground again. And we're just going to round our whole back. And then sink our whole back the opposite direction. Getting a little bit of movement. And 2. Last one. Now we're going to do a very specific type of back extension to start. So we're trying to bypass our erectors, okay? So we're trying to bypass those ropey muscles in our back. So if you feel them trying to work, like make it smaller, make it more specific, okay? Don't worry, we'll get to work them. But we're going to come on to our front. Now, if you have a bit of flesh in front of you and it causes your head to dangle at an uncomfortable angle, you can always put a ball or a yoga block underneath your forehead, okay? Hands can suction cup to the ground. Drag your elbows back down into a goalpost. Think of a lat pull at the gym, right? So we're trying to get our lat active here. So pulling your armpits down, hug your belly button up slightly. Try to engage your glutes to allow your feet to hover, even if just a tiny, tiny bit. Now press your hands and elbows into the ground to lengthen the crown of your head forward, like you're being shot out of a cannon, not like you're trying to get to the sky. Now inhale, exhale, float your hands and arm up, and then come back down. So the goal here was to not feel your back at all. And it was to make sure that when you lifted your hands, you didn't move your spine, okay? So let's try it again. Hug your lats down, okay? Activate those glutes, press your hands and elbows into the ground to get a little tiny bit of lift and lengthen. And then lift your hands. Okay, so the reason we're keeping our hands down is to keep the lats active and to bypass the erectors, okay? So if we lift with our hands, the bigger muscles have to do the work as opposed to the multifidus and the semispinalis muscles, right? We're trying to get our stabilizers to kick on first before the big guys. Because think of the erectors like the big brother and the little tiny stabilizers like the little brother. The little brother has to learn how to do stuff. Can't just let the big brother do all of it, okay? Last one like this. Pressing down into the ground to lift you, and then hands come up. Now, inhale. If you want more work for the big guys, now lift just a tiny bit and then come down. Exhale, lift just a tiny bit. Trying to find your whole back, not just one piece of it. If you'd like a little assist, but having the hands out to the side is too much, bring just the fingertips to the floor gently. 3, shoulders down though. And so I want you to externally rotate your palms a little. Elbows down. Yeah, there you go. Yep, is that better? Yeah. Last one. Nice job, everybody. Press yourself into a rest position. And slide your hands down. Now, nod your chin, but lengthen through your ears. So we're just not letting our chin drop forward. We're gonna bring our hands back and feel how it's possible your shoulders are kind of rolling forward. I want you to push your fingertips into an imaginary surface, and then we're gonna rotate our palms to face each other. We're not retracting, we are widening. It's as if you're taking off a big jacket. Now just squeeze at the elbows, press your hands back a little. Hold, if that feels okay, take your hands out to the side, palms down. If that feels all right, arms up, palms together. And then we are sweeping it the opposite direction. If you need to be upright for this, that's okay. It takes a lot of the pressure off of your back. But think about your shoulder blades here. Don't necessarily think as much about the hands, okay? The shoulder blades are going to widen and come forward, opening those armpits. Last one. Bring your hands down, tuck your toes under, press yourselves into little downward dog-esque position. Go ahead and pedal through your heels a little bit. And if you have tight calves, you can bring your heels off of your mat to get a little extra calf stretch. Walking your hands to your feet or your feet to your hands. You're gonna roll it all the way up. Come to standing. Now bring your feet just underneath kind of your sits bones. We're gonna press our feet into the ground. Think about lifting our arches, activating glute and inner thigh, okay? And then float one foot up. So if you sank or hiked, think about what we did on quadruped where we were finding that frontal plane, right? Good. Now, the leg that's floating, brush it out to the side, keeping the ribs gently stacked over the pelvis. Yeah. If the sink happens, don't go as far, right? Just push into the floor. 2. Yeah. Other side. So inner thigh and glute helps here. Okay, then you can lift. And just notice if one hip wants to rotate forward, and then you can brush it a little out to the side and in. Good. Now, the squishy mats are an extra challenge, right? Because they're so squishy. So if the mat is what you want, great. If you're like, too much, come off of it, right? You can also even put like one finger against a wall or a couch or something. 2 more. Last one, nice job. All right, bring your feet together, heel to toe. Now this is gonna be a little tricky, but it's gonna be great. All right, everybody ready? Good. Bring one finger in front of your face. So I'm gonna switch hands. Don't stop looking at your finger. Finger doesn't move. Keep looking at the finger, turn your head. Come back. Keep looking at the finger, turn your head other side. And back. It's way harder than it seems like it should be, isn't it? Yeah, so we are challenging our visual and ocular systems. We got one more like this. Now go ahead, switch feet, switch hands, and we're gonna switch it up a little baby bit. So now finger in front of your face. Don't stop looking at the finger. Don't move your head. Take the finger to one side. Track the finger with your eyes without letting your head turn. That, for me, is really hard because my head wants to be like, oh, hey, what's up, right? So one more each direction. You're all amazing, keep breathing. And then both feet together, slide your shoulders to your ears and just let gravity help them down. One more. And give yourselves a round of applause. Nice work today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Awesome job.